Danny, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Mic
Okay,
check.
hold on a second.
Test, test. Lisa says
Speak
hi,
again.
Brad.
Talk.
I talk, Brad.
One more
Can you hear
time.
me? Test, test, test.
I'm not
1,
able
2,
to pick
3.
you up. Hold on a second. Yes. I see you now.
Hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you still hear me? Okay. I'm looking here to see what the deal is.
Test. Test, test. Test.
He's on, but I'm trying to get the mic to work.
And then
Test, test.
I thought I saw him come in.
Test, test. A, B, C. 1, 2, 3.
Do you have a mute on your phone or anything? Is your mute on? No.
No. Can you not see you're in the car?
No, it looks like I'm on the moon.
Try
I
it
see
again.
a back- Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3.
Still
A,
nothing?
B, C. I hear you.
Do they need to be able to hear you?
No, not really, but I can't tell him not to go on without me. You know what I'm saying? Go on without me. You can write us
They're
a
all at
message.
this table. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear everything.
That's
Can you hear Zach?
no, I don't hear Zach.
You might put him on. Yeah. Amber's going to call you and put you on speaker.
Okay.
It's not good for the works with us.
Anytime we do roads, we want to get it in. Yeah, about 4 million. I don't have a curve. As an estimate off the conceptual design.
Okay, June 4th.
Right, so I wanted you to see where we started, and then I'm going to show you where we're at now.
Okay, cool, thanks.
So on that note, though, you can see down here, construction costs with the 15% contingency. I had this whole road estimated about 0.5 million. The whole road is only doing half the road. Divide that by 2, that's about 2.25 million. Fish. All right.
Indeed, I do, thank you.
Next divider in the section is my design for Fletcher, the actual official city road. And again, I've only provided select pages. There's a lot of detail work, erosion control stuff that maybe not pertinent to the discussion, but I wanted you to have the portions of the design so you can look at it and compare what we've designed versus what was approved a year ago. Yeah, I don't necessarily expect you to go in there and be able to nitpick everything, but I do want you to be able to notice the differences. In this design, we have a full collector road, 3 lanes. We've got a trail section.
What page are you on, there's that?
I'm on PP2 or PP1, it doesn't matter. But you'll see this is a full road, 37 feet wide, curb and guttered, 12-foot trail, 6-foot sidewalk, 7-foot green space. This is what the city has decided a collector road should look like in the city, right?
Okay, well, with that said, how could we do anything less?
Oh, in relation to the Amafi subdivision?
Yeah.
Well, because they were only obligated to do half of this, right?
Yeah.
And if I drew a line half, I don't have a
Top
functional.
half, bottom half,
Yeah.
left half, right?
You could go left to right, half, right, north, south. I cut it in half, it's not a functional road. Actually, on their half, they'd have a 12-foot trail and you have about a 13-foot paving section. So that was the whole purpose of the cost evaluation with the Amafi.
So did we mess up a year ago?
In what sense?
Well, I mean, we came up with an agreement where we couldn't pay anything.
Right.
And we asked them to pay for half a road, which isn't an entire road.
Right.
So that's what I mean. Did we mess up somewhere along the way?
I don't think so. What I wanted was a functional road, right? That doesn't necessarily mean covered gutters in relation to what I consider functional is able.
When I say we, I mean council.
Sure. No, I don't think so. Again, they were obligated by code to be in at X number of dollars, right? And so we made them do a thorough cost evaluation to see what that number was. And then what could that actually build if we changed the typical section? But a 13-foot wide road's not good to anybody. So per fire code, we need 26 feet wide. So they expanded their paving lane, added some storm sewer and put in a sidewalk, and that came out to be about $520,000. Based on their cost evaluation. Now, I did look at the numbers. The numbers made sense. So that was one-to-one evaluation.
And they still make sense now?
Yeah, I think they still make sense. Okay, now, the part you should get excited about, or at least, if I were you.
I'm already so giddy. But let's carry on.
All right, so that's all the supporting information, historical, where we were, where we are. I guess, so as I was designing this road, I knew that what they've been approved to do versus what we want to do was in conflict. And actually, when I went to them the first time, I said, I actually wanted to do the opposite of this. I said, I want you to zero this out and pay us what you're obligated to do per the developer agreement. And the city builds the road ourselves. And we get a complete road built at one time, because that's gonna give the city the best project.
Without having to try to divide it up.
Without having to try to divide it
Okay,
up,
I see why you would ask. I see.
right? So I originally said, hey, I don't want you to build any of it, just write us a check and we'll go build it.
Right, however.
Well, they came back and said, well, what's your schedule? And we need that road open for final plat, because we are obligated by fire code to have 2 points of access. So we need the road, and if you can't hit our time schedule, that's not gonna work. Point. And they also came back and said, well, I know the engineers did an opinion of probable cost, but our numbers are actually lower after we bid it than those numbers. And if we were gonna pay, we'd wanna pay what we're actually in it. I said, oh boy, that's a huge can of worms. They also, so.
Is this where I get giddy?
Huh?
Is this the part? where I
Well,
get giddy?
here's the flip, right? So 0%. They said, what if we build all of it at our cost? Oh, okay, well, give me your numbers, right? And so I got them designed, did a QTO,
Let's pretend I don't know what a QTO is.
quantity takeoff.
Oh, yeah,
You're right.
yeah, which means, just for those that don't know.
Basically, just said how many linear feet of pipe you got in there, how much sidewalks in the job, how many trees we gonna plant,
Yeah, that's,
Quantity.
we know that. Come on,
right?
don't
Yeah,
talk
of
down-
course, of
Don't
course.
talk down to us,
Anyway, so they said, well, our costs are, we don't want to pay what the engineer said because our costs are actually lower internally. So I flipped it and said, well, what if you did 100%? And they said, yeah, we'd be interested. I said, give me your numbers. Because if they're making it up, then we're not having this discussion. Last week, they gave me their numbers. And I've compared it to 3 different projects to give you a perspective on what they're asking and where we are in other projects within the city. So on this tab, you'll see the first unit quantity, unit price and total, right? This one.
Mhm.
This is the North Rock numbers, the first column.
Okay.
The second column says Tomlinson Asphalt based on April 25th bid, Tontitown, Arkansas. You see that one?
Mhm.
Those are the numbers from our recently bid road job, the half street over there on Managani. And I basically took their unit prices and extrapolated based on this job, what that would cost.
And you said if you didn't have the numbers, then you just
Yeah.
copied.
If I didn't have the number, it's orange, if they didn't have a one-to-one comparison. So to keep it fair, I just used the North Rock number plug-in to try to keep the evaluation similar,
Sure.
right? That's a Tontitown job. The next one is a Fayetteville, is College Avenue bid.
Ooh,
This is a recent job done in Fayetteville, whereas the Tomlinson job is probably lower in scope, the Fayetteville job is probably increased in scope, so I expect this job to be somewhere in between. But same evaluation, I took their lowest bid on their most recent street job, extrapolated the unit costs, and found a cost. And then the last column is the engineer's estimate. That's my estimate based on aggregates I've seen across NWA for various different jobs. I do estimate conservatively because your budgets are based on my number, and if I'm too low, that means you have to find money somewhere else, right? So I like
So
to be
you go
high.
conservatively high.
So I like to be high, so I will admit that. Going in on Tomlinson, I had that at 700,000, 740,000, and it came in at 640,000, so I was a little high. But if you go to the last page, I've summed all the totals, so you can see the cost difference between the projects. North Rock gave a quote of 1.27 million to do the whole job. If you take Tomlinson's bid and extrapolate it out, I come out at 1.57. If you take a Fayetteville job, I got it at 2.05 million. And if you did the engineer's estimate, which is high, I got it at 2.1 million. So I compare that to the base quote from North Rock. If you use Tomlinson numbers, that's an increase of 23%. or roughly $300,000. If you take the Fayetteville job, 61% increase, or $775,000. You take the engineer's estimate, 66%, or $850,000. Look, using Tomlinson and using the Fayetteville numbers gives us a range of where I think this job could be if publicly bid, right? Low and high end. Even at the lowest end of a recent bid, we're apparently saving upwards of $300,000.
Are we allowed to not take this out for bid?
So that's the next question. Legal. Talked to Justin, ran him by these numbers. What we want to do is amend the land development agreement to include the full road. He said that is fine. To keep it clean, he would ask for a formal waive of public bidding. So it would have to be a formal declaration that we're waiving
But we
public
can
bidding.
get away with that.
Oh, yeah. He had no concerns with that.
Splitting the cost with them on this?
So, yeah, so they're still in it, a portion of this job, $520,000. So we could get half the road for essentially $750,000.
So that was my next question.
Got a
was-
question on that point.
Not Danny was there.
Yeah, well, Danny, you
Why
first.
would
What's
we
up?
not send it out?
What's up?
Why would we not send it out to bid, even if it was a low band bid, if we went and got 3 bids and we, had them all bid this project and they still were the lowest, they would win at that point, but if somebody else came in even lower, the city would gain that much more.
Right. It's a fair critique. It's a fair critique. The problem is they're starting the road next week. So they don't have a lot, they need to know which way they're gonna go with it. Right? And I've tried to get this in front of you and work this out as fast as I can, but the process sometimes isn't as fast as we like it to be. But they need to know what road they're building essentially in the next few weeks.
Okay.
Jack, do you have any idea? how
That's
much
kind of
it's gonna
scary, I don't
cost?
like waiving bids, but
I don't like waiving bids.
I get that.
And I completely understand. That's why I've gone through this cost evaluation to show you where everything else is at. And I still think we're significantly lower than where this would end up through a public bid.
Okay, I'm gonna hush up again, I just thought I'd put in right there on the waiving competitive fees.
Right? That's the rub.
Sorry, Tim, you had something. So, we put this out to bid, they're supposed to build half of it, so do they work with the people we're bidding with, or how does that work?
Now, so basically, they're gonna start a road, essentially, they were gonna start this week, they're holding off just to see where you guys were, right? If this is amenable, we'll proceed, if not, then they're gonna proceed with what they're approved with, because they have an approved land development
Would stink,
agreement.
it would end up looking.
Well, then the city would come back and we'd have to wait for them to get done in the next 3 to 4 months, and then we'd bid a job to finish the rest of it. That's why I'm kind of not in favor of doing a half road. I'd
Makes
rather
sense
get
to
it
do
all
it all
built,
at once.
to do it all.
In my
at once.
mind, just sense to do it all at once.
So who's actually building the road?
Gates Construction under North Rock Builders.
Okay. And have you seen any of their roads before?
I have not personally seen any of their roads. I will say that Robert has been working with them to date, has no complaints with any of their workmanship so far. Any good road starts with the subgrade, and they're doing a great job with what they're doing out there right now. So have I personally seen a Skates job? I have not.
They're doing the,
No, that is ground zero.
Ground zero. Doing some skates trucks.
Might be trading dirt. Skates is not involved with Windmill Ray.
Okay.
That is all in-house by ground zero. Different contractor completely. You bring a good question.
Did I?
Yeah.
Well, I had a question.
Nah, statement. You said, have I seen I have not. So maybe we go make you feel more comfortable. If you like it, we can go pull other jobs and have them submit some stuff,
Yeah.
if you'd like it.
Okay, so a year ago, they were on the hook for 542, which was half. Today, they're on the hook for 542, 524, whatever it is, which is not half. But that's because of what? Materials cost more than they did a year ago?
Well, that's part of it. Absolutely. There's at least a 10% increase over the last 4 years in construction costs year to year. I would expect their unit prices to be 1-to-1 based on what they submitted a year ago. Also, they're in at $540,000 for their portion of the road, right, in front of their property. There is a portion right away across the city property, right? So it's not a 1-to-1 for half, but 40, 60 by linear foot, if you include that and the other half of the road.
And we pay for this how?
Great question. I would have to come through the bond.
Part of the stuff we put back for the streets.
I could just make a comment.
Yeah.
The reason this is brought up is that, you know, public just voted on you guys know that. They're expecting a nice 3-lane curb and gutter with side path and a part of building this asphalt that goes down the middle of the phone calls, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, long term though, I would expect that if the portion that we do publicly bid would come in and finish the road out. But it's not the same job at that point in
Right, so
time.
it could look different.
Well, there's gonna be a cold seam in one lane, which I'm not
Yeah.
happy about, which is where roads separate. And then, also it makes the construction a lot harder, right? Because now this road's been open for traffic. Now, whereas right now, they don't have to worry about traffic. The road's nothing.
There's nothing there.
There's nothing there. But once that's open, and then we're building off of it, now we've got to we've shut down one lane, pretty much the whole job as we built this side, vice versa.
But it could be extra fees because we're paying.
No, that's what I'm saying, I think the cost would go up on
Yeah.
traffic maintenance.
Well, suppose it's bid out and they just pay us the money instead of putting labor and materials into it.
Mhm.
Contractor that does it all,
Sure.
and they just write a check for whatever their half is.
Right.
If you sit it out for bids.
Right.
Let it for bid.
How long does it take for bid?
But that's where remember, that's where I wanted to start. Problem is, there's a road, they can't have final plat until this road's built.
I mean, we do,
Historically,
so.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
historically, when we put things out to bid on roads, right? I mean,
Yeah, well, I mean, we just have a recent road job. Where I think high or low is irrespective, you can actually see where those numbers are in relation to this job.
I mean, biggest concern obviously is, you know, projects not being put out to bid, and I get it. There's a way
Right.
it's,
Sure.
if we put it out for public bid, which if we were to do that, we don't have to choose one of the bids. Obligated to
I
choose
thought we were
one of them?
obligated to choose the low bid, is that right?
No.
No?
You can reject all bids.
yeah. We don't have to.
And
If you were to
then-
pick one, you're obligated to pick the low.
Which this one could come
I
out
don't
with a
think you
low
have to.
one.
I don't think we did that with the,
We skipped over
You-
one of the
If
lowest.
there's extra,
on
yeah,
some other
there's,
project.
if you can
You
disqualify
have to
somebody,
justify it, yeah.
yeah, justified disqualification, you can reject it.
y'all looked at numbers like on what they were gonna charge to haul off rock or dirt or something
Yeah.
at one company, and it was like nothing.
Yeah, we actually did that.
It
Well,
does
and
make
this-
sense that what they're able to do would be cheaper because out there doing it.
Right.
It does make sense that they would be able to provide us a cost savings
And
rather
then-
than hiring another company and mobile.
Sure.
I guess,
lot.
my thought process is that if we can legally, and they can do it for said number, I don't know why, but I think that would be the most prudent way.
I haven't been wrong yet.
Knocking on wood back here.
My other concern is, we're gonna continue to ask places to do half the road.
Right.
So we need to put something in place so we're not having to come back to this again. We need to figure
This,
out how
this
we want
one's
to put
special in the sense that it's a lot easier to build a half a road if there's some sort of road in existence. Take more sign. You're watching it right now.
Right.
We're building, well, actually, they're doing a complete rebuild, so it's a little different, but
A little bit.
it's blown up right now, right? But building off a half a road's way easier to do in the planning process. Already got a center line pavement on one side, you add your paving lane, there's a functional 2-lane out of that, no matter which side you go on. This one, there is no road, right? That makes this one a lot more difficult. We're building green space.
And they own everything on that road anyway, right?
The Mafia owns
North Rock
everything on
owns
the
Almost
north,
everything, but not Tuscanson, I get that.
Yeah.
But they landlock the road everywhere else.
essentially. They own the north half of the right of way on the east side, and the south, most of the right of way on the southwest side.
All the way down from Barrington to Clinton.
Yeah, so drive up, I mean, we're talking, draw a line right down the middle, right? On the east side, they basically just got the top half. And then the city already has the right of way on the bottom half. On the other side, the road curves down because we're trying to miss residential structures, so we don't have to condemn houses. And that pushed the right of way onto majority of there. So by the time you get all the way to Clink, it's 100% on their side. Well, it's, so we've shifted the alignment 35 feet, put it down there. So far, they've been amendable.
What's the downside?
So I guess perception would be the downside, right? I'm gonna play one more card if you'll indulge me. If we did a publicly bid contract, how does the city get what they paid for? Right? What's in a typical bidded contract to ensure the city gets what they paid for? Done through retainage, usually 5 to 10%. The city doesn't pay that last 5 to 10% till you finish your job, right? Or that's how you protect it. This one's a little different. We can do that. I think we should, but also you get to hold the final plat. Do it through the land development agreement, right? That's a huge leverage card to make sure this gets done and done right. That you're not gonna get with conventional other jobs. And this one's really interesting. I mean, they don't normally work out this way, where there's so much overlap between a public job and a private job. I mean, I've almost never seen it this. Right.
You know,
I've never seen it work out where the timetable of the city overlaps the private job so intently. I mean, it almost normally never works out this way.
Price comparisons that you gave us. Would you say comparable road?
I would say they're comparable. It's not a perfect 1-to-1.
But it's pretty comparable.
Yeah, from publicly available, I mean, yeah, I'd say they're pretty close. Like, again, with the caveat, it's not a perfect 1-to-1 green space road. But the unit prices should be pretty comparable through jobs. How much money are you in to move dirt?
Yeah.
Ring walk on site is
So
gonna be the same between
In
jobs.
essence, we could be looking like, this could be similar to the type of bids that we can.
Yeah, if you split the difference between the two, which is where I would hope a publicly bid job would come in,
I like just using them.
our cost. I know.
it's right in the middle of the range between the Tomlinson job and the Fayetteville job and my engineer's estimate.
I appreciate you sitting down and walking us through it.
Sure.
So instead of us biting the whole bullet on.
Right. $2 million for half, then we gotta build the other half, right? So this is
I
only,
thought we were talking whole road here.
this is just for the half in front of their property. That's locked into the land development agreement. That's all I'm considering. So they're gonna do their half
The way we want it done.
the way we want it done for 1.2 2, 1.3.
Which is not what they're required to do.
I think that's gonna be 2, and you can, and that it's a great point. That's why I did print out where I was when we started at 4.5 for the whole road. So, essentially, let's just say the other half cost is public. I mean, we've got another whole road too that's gonna be publicly bid, right? That comes in at 2. This is at 1.3, so that we get a road for 3.3. Original estimate had 4.5. So, I mean, that's a lot of money we can spend on other road projects across the city.
And
So,
that was a year ago.
so half
right?
that bond money goes to this road.
Yeah,
That was
wait,
Probably.
did I miss, what'd you say?
Half of our bond money goes to.
That's right.
Well, that was what the original plan was, right?
Yeah, the original plan, and then try to get a portion of Wildcat built as well. But if we overextend on Fletcher, it is not a possibility.
This one was
Cost
always at the
estimate.
top of the list for the bond.
Now, this is essentially the bond with, hopefully we get Fletcher, but.
half, you mean just literally half of from Barry.
Yeah, but, well, essentially the way it works out is, again, within the context of the land development agreement, the road's split pretty much right down the middle at 1,240 feet. So you double it on each side. So I wrote this from Barrington to a station, 1,240 feet, which is essentially property lines. So you get onto their eastern property line. Coincidentally, too, if we did it this way, seeing a lot of positive things, so I'm really just trying to get you guys' feedback, but they could be constructing this road and then we could bid the other half of the road. And they wouldn't be stepping on each other's toes. We could be building this, they could be building that, and then we get the full road done.
All at the same time?
Yeah, well,
Well,
maybe,
kind of.
but there'd be a little offset, but
I mean, we
they
could,
won't be tripping over each other in this
Right.
scenario.
we could get this same company to bid.
No, I'd fully expect them to bid the other half of the road.
They're already gonna be there.
They're already gonna be there, and I would expect
Them to
good
come in the
pricing.
lowest. I like it, actually, I like it.
I do too.
I keep trying to think like, okay, so what about this looks shady, doesn't smell right, whatever, from the public standpoint,
Right,
or wherever.
sure.
And as far as I can tell, if the argument is, well, we didn't take it out for public bid, and we say, yeah, but we didn't do that because we just saved $1 million,
Uh-huh.
right? I mean, that's an easy one.
Is it too easy?
Well, maybe.
I mean, if I were looking at these comparisons, not really having a full understanding of everything, looking at these comparisons, I would think, wow, that seems like a no-brainer.
Well, and here's these numbers that aren't just coming from the ether, right? I've pulled these from publicly sourced information. One, a city job we just did, 2 publicly available regional jobs. We can look at RDOT jobs, but those are gonna be even higher. We don't wanna look at RDOT.
Yeah, we don't, yeah.
So just paying the whole green or just half the green?
The whole green,
Okay.
and the other half would be from the green
The
to
other
Clinton,
half is ours.
Yeah.
Okay, that helps.
right? It's about, what's 1240 times 2?
24.
There you go, 2480. About a half mile road. If another contractor were to get upset about not being able to participate in a public bid, at half the road that we
Sure,
fully
yeah.
anticipate the public bid. So everybody's gonna get an opportunity
Yeah.
still to compete for the bond, a portion of the bond money.
So we would update the land development and then waive the 3 bidding rule for this section. And then
Just
we would
this section.
Bid out the next
And then we'll
section.
bid out the next
All
one.
right.
That's how I see this shaping up, if you guys are amenable.
Is
But
it
all they-
engineered yet?
Huh?
Is it engineered?
It's
yet?
at 60%. The last 30% is construction, contracting with touch-ups. We are doing, property owners for right-of-way acquisition, so they may come back with tweaks on, like, well, you can have it, but I want you to tweak this on my property. I don't think it's gonna be that big a deal. I certainly don't think it's gonna be a big deal on this portion, because Moffitt owns all the property, right? Over on the west side, there's some drainage issues. I'd be surprised if they didn't say they can help with some of the drainage, which hopefully we can do. I want to be able to do that. And then I do want to add an 18-inch retaining wall on the very west side, because that guy, I forgot his name, has got a bunch of electricals. No, Next guy, he's got some electrical services in the way of the road. I'm grading through a pole, so if I put a little stone block retaining wall. Tiny.
Bratcher?
Huh?
Is that
It may be Bratcher. Can you click? Who is that? I don't like not saying names.
Bratcher's over here.
Okay,
This is Austin.
Austin.
okay.
Austin got a lot of stuff going on. Trying to get the trailer fit.
South of his property?
Yes. But I am grading the tying the existing grades on his property a little bit. Where the road's up here, his property's right here, I gotta connect the two.
Any, you got any questions? Did you hear everybody?
Yeah, for the most part, I heard Zach a lot, and, obviously, and I think maybe Misty sitting next to you, but Tim was a little muffled, and I could hear Mike a little. But, yeah, I mean, it sounds like we've thought it through a lot. But again, I understand we've got a time crunch, but I think from a public perspective, it looks a little unfair that we don't, put it all out for public bid. I understand they've got a time crunch and they're gonna fire off on it.
Right.
I don't like that, but that's unfortunate, that's where we're at. But I do like the part that we've at least got the section that we can say, well, that's one half of it. We've got the other half that will be put out for public bid.
Right.
In a perfect world, if time wasn't an issue, we'd put this out to public bid. If these guys are the lowest, great, they get it. But if there's somebody that can beat them, then that obviously would win it.
Right.
So, then at the end, ultimately the city would win, but we've got this time crunch that it looks like we're looking at
Right.
staring us down the barrel. And, it's unfortunate, and that's the lovely tight spot we get to be in
Sure.
as a city council member.
Right.
Mr. Montez? Sorry. Mr. Montez?
Yes.
Do you have
Gotcha.
too much heartburn?
No, not a ton. I can see both sides of the coin, you know what I mean?
Giving us the comparables provides a lot of cover for us on that.
And at the end of the day, we're obligated as a taxpayer to make sure we're doing the best for them, right?
If we don't have those, you certainly have to put it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I do think we have enough public information to forecast where I think it's gonna be
Yeah.
versus what they've given.
Or cover like we're trying to hide something.
No, I don't either. And all this is gonna be public information, right? There's no secrets in here.
Right.
Another engineer could pick this up, and I'm sure they could go and we could argue about individual unit prices, but anybody can do the same cost evaluation based on public information. There's no secrets in here. The only secret is their numbers that they gave us.
The other thing is if we don't do this, they're still starting the road regardless. They're just gonna do what they were required to do and correct?
Yeah,
And we're
yeah.
gonna connect to it and our road's gonna look better than their
Well,
portion, or how does that?
again, we'll go for public bid. Part of that bid will be to complete their section of the road. It's just, I think it would probably cost, I know it's gonna cost more because now I have to do a real traffic maintenance plan because it's an
So
active
you
road.
mean take the road that they've already done, not what we would want,
Yeah.
and we're basically gonna have to redo,
I wouldn't say redo, build off of.
improve?
Yeah, improve, build off of to complete the full section, because we're gonna put in a real Fletcher, but I'm trying, there's a lot of different things to consider here. It certainly complicates the construction part. I'd love for them to be able to do this, and then we have our publicly bid job come a few months later, and then the whole road's done by
Yeah.
Christmas time.
So our
That'd be
cost,
really great.
our cost on their half, 1, 2. Still may be less than.
The bond was put in at 4.5, so if I
like
can
1,
beat
2
that,
better.
huh?
I like 1, 2 better.
I wanna beat this number.
Yeah.
I wanna beat this number.
Get a nice little
This lets me
challenge
beat this
there,
number
yeah.
by a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, because then we do the next bid and it comes in at 3.5, and I'm just like, I'd kick myself in the face, I don't know.
That'd be hard.
We might kick you in the face yet.
Yeah, you may not have to.
Or Brad or Mark, sure will.
Yeah, sure.
You know, my cynical gene just keeps going like, okay, what's? And you said earlier, like, too good? Yeah, I mean, some of it is a little too good. So I feel like there's something missing, but based on what's in front of me,
I'll also say this too, if I just real quick, little side note, you know, I've got to work on both sides of the coin, right? I did private side back in my younger days. I got to see
how much younger were you?
10 years ago, right?
Like 4?
Yeah. Back when I was in my
The
20s,
beard's
right?
throwing me
I'm
off.
almost 40. Can you believe that? It's crazy.
What?
Yeah.
Me too.
How do we get, how about if we get
Not married yet.
some certain that the city is only obligated to pay, if we agree to do this without submitting it to bid, get a fixed cost that the city
Right.
pays,
Right.
period.
Right. I've got to take, from this meeting, I've got to go to them and work out the details of the land development agreement. So I will make that
I
request.
like that, rather than some kind of.
I want to limit change orders too. You know, just once you start digging up stuff, there's just stuff on the
I
ground
know,
that you
there's
don't
rock
see.
all over Tontitown,
Yeah.
I get
So-
that.
Is this coming to us tomorrow?
No.
Oh, that's why, okay, I was just
No,
confirming that. Just
there's a lot
confirming
here,
that.
and I wanted to just make myself available to talk about it and get this ahead of you as soon as I could.
Is that the July cow?
That'll be the next one.
Yeah, the closer we can get to a fixed
That's the
number for
first.
the city.
Really tonight to gauge interest, because I have to advise them on what they're about to start. I want the best road for the best price.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank
we
you.
don't have that orange right, we're just gonna get below back.
Well, and I,
Good Lord.
you guys talk to me than I do, so, I mean, you're gonna have to essentially defend it, right?
Yeah.
It won't be me defending, it'll be you guys, so. Are concerned with and how I can try to accommodate land development agreement to get ahead of stuff. I think I've laid the financials out. And I honestly believe the numbers. I made my cost estimate without even seeing their numbers, right? It's not like I took, no, let me just plug this in. I took a non-biased recent road and I took a road we just did. So, I mean, these were made without any prejudice or what's the word?
Bias.
Bias. They're as little bias as I can do.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Again, to your point, is it too good? I don't know if the city's ever gonna have another project where you can leverage a subdivision against its completion by doing this in the land development.
We just so often as a city, I mean, and I'm not talking about even recently, but historically, we end up with a fuzzy to the stick.
We have, and I don't like it. What we've done is implement a land development, get all these costs up front and write it on paper to prevent the city getting the run of the stick. Not having roads built, not having sidewalks built. You know what you're obligated to do if you want final plat, and it's in writing from a legal document. So that's a huge step in the right direction.
I agree 100%, yes.
I wouldn't have brought this for you if I didn't think this was a good deal. I honestly would.
I agree.
So I think there's some cost savings here. I would love to save $500,000 and go spend it on Wildcat or somewhere else in the city. Okay, it's probably gonna, that intersection over there on the west side's gonna need it, because it's a nightmare.
It is.
Off culvert, something, however we do. The drainage is terrible.
Hey, there ain't nothing money can't fix.
Well, that's true.
And a good engineer.
Another, bond issue.
I'll get you some contact info.
I start to say,
You know more engineers than I do.
Anything else you need from us?
No, I mean, are we amenable to try to take this to Cal with the agreement?
I am.
I am.
you have more questions, or if there's
That-
further
well-
developments arise,
Yeah.
then, you know, you may get
You
some
can
more
kick-
pushback at
No,
the county.
That's fine. Well, what's it, I do expect public comment to come through, right? There'll probably be things that we need to address along the way.
By Cal, you already have had the conversation and maybe have what Mike was talking about.
I'm gonna
in
try.
writing
We'll
sort
see.
of our-
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try.
What do we owe you for these nice binders?
Pull them out of Brad's cabinet.
We should be charging for. But they're free.
Thank you for your time, Jeff, we really appreciate it.
Also, this was if you guys have any questions or want to talk about it, you can call me. I'm trying to start an open dialogue.
Okay, what's your cost per minute?
Cost per minute for you, $0.
Quarter-hour chunks.
I don't charge for phone calls, so
Still in the minute.
nobody else can do that for you.
While
Oh,
you're-
well, we appreciate that.
I don't charge for phone calls.
Danny, are you good? Tom,
I'm good.
okay,
Now I'm just on mute.
okay.
Thank you,
Signing
Danny.
off, Danny.
Bye, Danny.
Zach, I don't
I
have you. on my
appreciate
phone.
it. Sorry I couldn't be there in person.
You're all good. I appreciate you coming in by phone.
Thank
Ready?
you.
See ya.